Hi, Tony Males here from Arbury Community Church. May God bless you and keep you in these difficult times. This is a short message about the Covid vaccines in response to various questions and concerns that have been raised within our community. I hope you find this helpful, and I'm more than happy to answer more questions. My contact details are in the description. My day job is in medicine. I work as a part-time GP. I'm about to get involved in the Covid vaccination programme, which will involve working half-day shifts at a GP surgery within my primary care network of 6 practices, which collectively covers a population of 50,000 people. I will be working in a large team drawn from the network practices, together with volunteers who will support practicalities such as traffic and parking management, patient flow and safety. Patients in the early cohorts, which include the over 80s and people working in health and social care, will have been invited for their jab by the NHS. Some will have read the information leaflet and be ready to be vaccinated. Some will have questions, and others will have no information at all with which to make their choice. So I need to be prepared to spend time with a proportion of patients explaining the risks and benefits. There has been controversy over various vaccines in the past. For example, the widely circulated and since discredited theory that the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine causes autism. The heightened level of anxiety in the past year and the greater access to and use of social media platforms have fueled a variety of paranoid theories, not only about the coronavirus itself, but also about the new vaccines that have been developed at record speed. You probably have a good idea about how vaccines work. Essentially, a vaccine presents to the body's immune system a harmless version of the disease it is designed to protect us against. The immune system responds to the antigen, usually a protein or a sugar-protein combination, by making antibodies that neutralize the antigen and cells that develop a memory for the antigen for future reference. The Covid vaccines that are being used in the early stages of the national programme use different technology to achieve the same end result. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine consists of strands of messenger RNA derived from the RNA that sits coiled inside the coronavirus particle. The mRNA strand is incapable of causing disease. That requires a dose of hundreds of whole viral particles, the spheres with their spike proteins we have all become accustomed to seeing in diagrams and in animations in the media. mRNA is an instruction template that can be interpreted by the protein manufacturing machinery inside our cells. When the active component of the Pfizer vaccine enters our immune system cells, those cells obey the template's instructions, make part of the spike protein, which is then moved to the surface of the cell to be seen by other components of the immune system. The Astrazeneca vaccine consists of a virus vector or carrier that has been modified so that it is harmless to us. The natural version of the virus causes cold symptoms in chimpanzees. It is a DNA virus, and an extra strand of DNA has been added to the chimp virus's own DNA. This extra strand is equivalent to the mRNA strand in the Pfizer vaccine. When it is read by the immune system's immune cells that absorb the whole vector virus, the cells translate it into a piece of mRNA using its own raw materials. Now, it is only natural to be cautious about new treatments, whether they be medicines or vaccinations. We understandably want to know that new treatments have been tested in a valid, reliable and repeatable way, and that the companies that make new treatments act with integrity. As part of my training to be a Covid vaccinator, I spent about 4 hours yesterday working through online modules prepared by the NHS and listening to a live webinar delivered by a senior pharmacist in our local healthcare system. I am personally satisfied that the process of research into the safety and effectiveness of the vaccines, which in both cases was a collaboration between the companies themselves and the governments of many countries involving tens of thousands of volunteers from a variety of ages and backgrounds. I believe this was robust and sufficient enough for the products to be introduced to the world. I'm also happy that our own Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, or MHRA, underwent due process in their approval of the vaccines for use by the NHS. So what can you expect if you agree to be vaccinated? Firstly, the system of contacting you when it is your turn is run by the NHS at national level, so your own GP won't know about your invitation until he or she is notified after you have been vaccinated. You may be vaccinated at your own GP surgery if it is a designated vaccination centre, but more likely you will be invited to go to a neighbouring surgery or an alternative community location such as a sports or a shopping centre. The vaccination team will welcome you and direct you to a waiting area. The usual social distancing precautions will be in place. Your identity will be checked, and you will be asked for your consent to be vaccinated. If you feel you have already seen enough information to help you make your decision, then simply give your verbal permission. If you are not sure, please ask questions or to see an information leaflet. Then it is just a question of rolling up your left sleeve and having the needle inserted into the muscle at the top of your arm. If you have been given the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, or if you have driven yourself to the vaccination centre, you will be asked to wait for 15 minutes, possibly in another part of the building, before you are free to leave. You may be given an appointment for your second vaccine on the day of your first, but I suspect most vaccination teams will tell you that the date and time of your booster jab will be sent at a later stage. It's not unusual after any vaccination to feel sore. Occasionally a bruise or lump can appear, but this settles after a few days. Some people feel generally achy, tired, and can develop a slight temperature for a few days afterwards. This is harmless. The only medical reasons for not having the vaccination are if you have a serious allergy to one of the components of the vaccine solution, or if you have a history of serious allergic reactions to multiple medicines and other substances. People who have symptoms of a serious infection on the day, including the symptoms we are all told to look out for in respect of COVID, should cancel and ask to be rescheduled. But a mild sniffle shouldn't stop you from getting jabbed. Pregnant women are advised not to be vaccinated unless they have underlying health problems that put them at higher risk of complications of COVID. The research into the vaccine did not include pregnant women, so the risks and benefits are not currently known. The manufacturers of the vaccines have demonstrated that the vast majority of people in the so-called phase 3 trials were protected from COVID symptoms. It is not yet clear how long immunity lasts after 2 doses, so we may be told that we need annual boosters. It is also not known whether someone who has been vaccinated can become an asymptomatic carrier when exposed to COVID and therefore pass it on. So both vaccinated and unvaccinated people alike will need to exercise the same precautions of hand washing, mask wearing, and social distancing for as long as we are instructed to do so. I've decided not to address the ethical issues that have been raised about the materials used in the development of the COVID vaccines, specifically about the origin of the eternal cell lines. If you would like to explore this, then there are good resources available via the links in the description below. Thanks for listening. I hope this has helped you become more confident about the background to these vaccines, how they work, and the process involved in getting vaccinated. I personally recommend that you accept the invitation when it arrives and say yes to the vaccine in order to help not just yourself, but those you come into contact with. Thank you.